All right, today we're diving into a really big shift in the world of online retail, headless commerce. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but stick with me, because this is a change that could seriously decide who wins and who loses in e-commerce over the next few years.
And I want to kick things off with a pretty direct question. Because honestly, the timeline we're talking about here, it's right around the corner. The moves you make today are absolutely going to define where your business stands in the very, very near future.
And here's the number that really lights a fire under this whole conversation. This comes straight from Gartner, and they're predicting that by 2026, a staggering 80% of all digital commerce is going to be built on these kinds of modular systems. Headless is a perfect example. So you see, this isn't just some passing trend, it's a full-blown tidal wave.
So why is this happening? Why the massive shift? Well, it's because e-commerce has basically hit a wall. We're at a crossroads. There's this growing gap between the old-school tech that's powering most online stores and what we, as customers, actually want and expect. The old way just isn't cutting it anymore.
Think about it. On one side, you've got these traditional systems. They're clunky, they're slow to update, and they were really only built for one thing, a website. But then on the other side, you have us, the modern customers. We're demanding, we are so impatient, and we expect everything to work perfectly everywhere. On the app, the website, on social media, you name it. There's a major clash happening right there.
And that brings us to the solution that's starting to bridge this huge gap. So let's actually break down what on earth we're talking about when we say headless commerce.
Okay, so in a traditional online store, you can think of the whole thing as one single connected unit. The part the customer sees, the head, the pretty website design, is basically glued to the back end, the body, which is running all the serious stuff like inventory, pricing, and payments. They are totally locked together.
Now, here is the game changer. Headless simply means you cut the cord. You detach that customer-facing head from the back-end body. They become two totally separate things that just talk to each other through this flexible little bridge called an API.
So here's the key takeaway. It's an architecture where the part your customer actually interacts with is completely separate from the part that runs all your business logic. And because they're separate, they can now grow and change and be updated all on their own.
And why does that matter? Well, this is the magic trick. It means you can completely redesign your website, launch a brand new mobile app, or test out a different checkout page, all without risking messing up the critical systems in the back that are handling your actual orders and inventory. It's a huge deal.
So, let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about the real-world advantages. What do you actually get from making a change like this?
First and foremost, speed. And this is a big one. Because that front end is now lighter and more specialized, studies show that headless setups can make your pages load up to 30% faster. In a world where every single millisecond can make or break a sale, that is a massive improvement.
And that speed? It's not just some tech metric your IT team cares about. It translates directly into money and loyalty. Faster pages mean fewer people get frustrated and leave, which means more sales, and honestly, customers who just have a much better time shopping with you.
The second giant advantage is finally being able to deliver a true omni-channel experience. With one single back-end body, you can power dozens of different front-end heads. Your website, your mobile app, a pop-up shop on Instagram, a voice assistant, even an in-store kiosk. They're all pulling from the exact same, consistent information.
And look, this isn't just a theory. Some of the biggest brands on the planet have already made this move. We're talking about giants like Nike, Target, Amazon, and Sephora. They're all using Headless to deliver these lightning-fast, super consistent experiences everywhere their customers are.
And the benefits just keep coming. Your tech teams can work independently now, so the back-end folks can work on the engine without slowing down the marketers and designers building the beautiful storefront. This whole setup lets you experiment and launch new features so much faster. It also creates the perfect foundation for really advanced AI-driven personalization because you can just plug in the best new tools without having to rebuild the entire plane while it's in the air.
Okay, so whenever there's a big technological shift like this, you're always going to hear some myths and misconceptions pop up. Let's just go ahead and bust a couple of the most common ones right now.
The first myth is that this whole thing is only for the Nikes and Amazons of the world. But the reality is, because it's so modular and flexible, it can be a massive benefit for startups and mid-sized brands, anyone who needs to stay nimble and adapt really quickly without a giant budget.
And the other one you always hear is about the cost. Oh, it's too expensive. And yeah, there's an investment up front. But the long-term reality is that your costs can actually go down. And why is that? Because you get to avoid those massive, scary, and super expensive projects where you have to tear down and rebuild your entire e-commerce platform from scratch every few years.
Okay, so we've busted the myths, the advantages are pretty clear. So how do you actually prepare for 2026? How do you know if this is the right strategic path for your business?
Here's a really simple checklist to help you think it through. Just ask yourself these questions. First, do you need to be everywhere for your customers, on every channel? Second, is personalizing their experience at a deep level a big part of your strategy? Third, do you constantly need to make updates to the look and feel of your site? And finally, do you want your teams to be able to test new ideas quickly? If you find yourself nodding and saying yes to a few of these, well then Headless starts to look like a very, very smart move.
Which brings us right back to where we started. With 80% of the market moving this way, the question really isn't if this is going to happen anymore. It's where are you going to be when it does? So in 2026, is your business going to be leading the pack, or is it going to be struggling to keep up?